I've had instances where I spoke to a group years ago and they say, why do you tell us that? Do you want us to be depressed more? I said, no, I was asked to tell you that so you should know the history. So it's a very difficult. I have much less of a problem relating it to non-Jewish communities because they have to understand that we were the target, but we were not the only ones, because there were 6 million Jews, all Jews were targeted, but there were 5 million others who were Catholics, Protestants, and who died simply because the Nazis didn't like them. Maybe they made one remark against Hitler. And I think that message has to be understood, universalized, because they have to understand what can happen in a society that loses its moral, ethical, democratic principles and so on.
Under Representative Clymer's bill, which excludes the mandate, some students in the Commonwealth may learn about the Holocaust and World War II, which no one could argue go inextricably hand in hand, but many may not.
There are certain concepts behind the sequence of events of the Holocaust that have been confused, possibly due to the lack of education on this subject. For example, there is a common misconception that anti-Semitism is what brought Adolf Hitler to power. This is an issue, because this makes the assumption that the German people as a whole were anti-Semitic. In actuality, people became members of the Nazi Party and then would become anti-Semitic as a result, not the other way around.
Another common misconception is that had the Jewish people retaliated against the Nazis, they could have drastically reduced the death toll or even overthrew Hitler. This illustrates a lack of education on Jewish resistance, as there were many examples of Jewish resistance in ghettos and concentration camps, even though it did little to stop the Nazis.
Irina Settler and the Children of the Warside Ghetto is a piece of Holocaust literature that illustrates the struggles that Jewish families suffered while trying to survive in the ghettos. Many would give their children to people like Irina to help them have a better chance of life. Irina helped hundreds of Jewish kids escape the ghettos before the Gestapo found out what she was doing. The main theme throughout the book was that the Holocaust destroyed many families, but because of people like Irina, some were able to make it out. Education on this incident is vital in order to learn that this should never happen again.
So I think it's important to teach the Holocaust because so many lives were lost. And I think it's important to teach Holocaust writing so that through the writings that we have recovered, that's one way to bring people to life again through their words. So I think that's important. I also think it's important to understand the kind of evil that can happen with a genocide and understand the sort of thinking that happened that enabled people to just wipe out an entire group of people just because they were different, and the kind of thinking that seemed okay, that other people bought into and went along with. Because other genocides have happened, and we like to say, oh, it could never happen again, but it is happening, and it does happen, and it has happened in Rwanda, in Somalia, and other places. And so I think there's this complacency and this failure to acknowledge that genocide still does happen. And so that's why I think it's important to understand the Holocaust historically, the one that happened during World War II, and also understand that, yeah, it's still going on. And we need to stop that sort of hatred and annihilation of people because they're different.
The only way to make sure that every student in the state of Pennsylvania has the same opportunity to learn what happens when hatred runs amok is to mandate Holocaust education and genocide education.
In terms, not an abstract figure or abstract people someplace, but what would happen to them, to the mothers, to the fathers, to the sisters, to the uncles? What would happen to them personally? Maybe in a society like that, they wouldn't have a car. Maybe they would not have a radio. Maybe they wouldn't have the daily freedom. They have to understand what happened in Nazi Germany in terms of their own daily life, as well as the whole family. And I think if we can bring that message across, we have succeeded.